My name is Claire Bennett. I'm 33, and for 4 years, I worked construction logistics on pipeline projects up in Alaska, sending almost every paycheck home to my mother. 2 years ago, I used that money to buy her a house outside Nashville, $450,000. Her name nowhere on the paperwork yet because I hadn't finished the trust. Last Friday, I flew back early to surprise her for her birthday. I still had my duffel bag on my shoulder, boots still dusty from the last job site, when a woman I didn't recognize opened my mother's front door, looked me up and down, and said, "Oh, the help doesn't need to knock, honey. Just go around back." That woman was my sister-in-law, Whitney, and the help she meant was my mother. 61 years old, out on that back patio in gardening gloves, watering pots that used to just be hers and didn't feel like hers anymore. Because apparently now there was a laminated schedule taped to the fridge with her name on it, right next to somebody else's grocery list. My brother Adam and Whitney had been living in that house 9 months. What I found out over the next 4 hours was worse than one rude comment at a doorway. And what I did about it by Friday night is the reason Whitney hasn't said my name out loud since. Every account, every signature, every single thing with my mother's name on it, I went through all of it, slow and careful. Stay with me, because there's a phone call at the end of tonight that nobody in that house saw coming, and I already had the number pulled up before I even stepped through the front door. Welcome back to the channel, where the quiet ones finally stop staying quiet. If you've ever watched someone you love get treated like less in their own home, drop a comment and hit subscribe, because tonight, the calm one is the one making the call. To understand that doorstep, you have to go back 5 years to a hospital waiting room in Knoxville. My father passed from a stroke on a Sunday afternoon, fast. No warning, no goodbye, and he left my mother, Diane, a small pension and a mortgage she couldn't carry alone on a part-time bookkeeper's salary. I was 28 then, single, no kids, no reason to stay close except the one that mattered most. My brother Adam had just started his own family, a new baby, a mortgage of his own. Somebody had to go where the real money was, and pipeline work up north paid enough to actually matter. So I packed 2 duffel bags, hugged my mother in that same driveway, and told her I'd be back before she knew it. I wasn't. 5 years turned into 4 brutal winters in Alaska. Birthdays celebrated on shaky video calls, 2 Thanksgiving dinners I missed entirely because a storm grounded every flight out of Fairbanks. Every single one of those years, I kept telling myself the same quiet thing. This is temporary. This is for her. I never once regretted the money I sent home. Not one paycheck of it. I just never imagined what I'd walk into the day I finally came home to spend it on the woman who raised me. I bought the house 2 years ago, in the spring, after I'd finally saved enough working double rotations up north. $450,000. A single-story craftsman with a wraparound porch and a big shaded yard on Willow Creek Road, 20 minutes outside Nashville. I closed on it over a video call at 2 in the morning, Alaska time, signing digital papers while my mother slept 800 miles away, not knowing yet what was waiting for her. Our family lawyer, Mr. Delgado, told me to keep my name on the deed until I could set up a proper trust. Scammers target women who suddenly own property, he said. I meant to handle it on my next trip home. I didn't know how much that would cost me. The day I told my mother the house was hers, she cried into the collar of her coat on that front porch, and then she planted tomatoes before she'd even unpacked a single box. She called it the house that Claire built. That memory is the one I held on to through every cold shift up north. My brother Adam is 36. Good with his hands, always the one who could fix a leaking faucet or talk his way out of a parking ticket. He married Whitney 3 years ago at a courthouse ceremony I couldn't fly back for. I'd only seen her once, waving from the edge of a video call. 9 months ago, Adam's contracting business lost its biggest client and then its office lease in the same month. He called me exactly once, not to ask for help, but to tell me he didn't need any. I offered anyway. Quietly, no interest, no deadline. He let the silence sit there and then said, "You send money, Claire? I show up." That's the difference. He laughed like it was a joke. Neither of us believed him. 2 weeks after that call, my mother phoned me with what she called a small favor. Adam and Whitney needed somewhere to land, just until he found steady work again. The house had 3 bedrooms and 1 widow living in it alone. Of course I said yes. I only asked for 2 things out loud, with Adam on the line to hear them both. Temporary. And Mom stays the lady of the house. Adam agreed easily, warm and reasonable, in that way he always was when he wanted something. We'll take care of her better than she takes care of herself, he said. And somewhere off camera, I heard Whitney's voice for the first time, bright and sweet as store-bought icing. "We're just so grateful, Claire. Truly." That was 9 months ago. Every Sunday after that, my mother and I talked on the phone. And every Sunday, she told me things were fine, the house was full again. It was nice having family close. I believed her because I wanted to. I flew home last Friday, expecting a birthday cake and a quiet weekend on that porch, maybe helping her plant something new in the yard. I did not expect a laminated schedule on the refrigerator or a woman I'd never met telling me to walk around back like I didn't belong in the house I'd bought with 5 winters of my own life. I stood on that porch one long second, letting Whitney's sentence land, then walked past her into the house like a stranger checking in. New candles on the mantle, a smell I didn't recognize, family photos I wasn't in. Where my father's picture used to hang, someone had put up a sign that said, "Blessed beyond measure." From the backyard came a sound I knew before I could name it. Water hitting stone. A hose running too long. My mother was on her knees by the flower beds in gardening gloves 2 sizes too big, a bucket of soapy water beside her, scrubbing algae off the pavers before anyone else was awake. 61 years old, moving carefully because of her hip. In an apron I'd never seen before, with someone else's initials stitched on the pocket. She looked up and her face opened for half a second. Claire. Then shut just as fast, her eyes flicking to the kitchen window. She got up too quickly, wincing, and pulled me into a hug that felt like hiding more than happiness. "You can't just show up, honey," she whispered. "They don't love surprises." "They? Not we." I asked gently why she was scrubbing a patio at 7 in the morning. She said it kept her busy, the way you say something you've practiced saying. I asked why the apron had someone else's name on it. She looked down like she'd forgotten it was there, and told me not to mention money to Whitney, please, then clapped a hand over her mouth like the sentence had escaped on its own. So instead of pushing, I asked to see her room. And that turned the morning into something closer to an investigation than a birthday visit. She led me through the kitchen, past a laminated chore chart on the fridge in someone else's handwriting. Mom laundry Monday. Mom dishes nightly. Little check boxes down the side. Her bedroom wasn't the guest room anymore. It was the sunroom off the laundry. A fold-out cot, her pills on a card table, boxes still packed 9 months later. Her wedding photo with my father sat on the windowsill next to a bottle of dish soap. "Upstairs," she said plainly. Adam and Whitney had the real bedroom because of her hip and the stairs. It sounded caring. It sounded exactly like something I'd have suggested myself, which is what made it so easy to miss from 800 miles away. On the counter, I noticed a stack of opened mail with my mother's name showing through the plastic window. A store card statement, $2,900 in charges, a spa, a boutique, a signature at the bottom that wasn't close to her handwriting. When I held it up, she flinched before she even looked. With the sink running loud on purpose, she told me the rest in a whisper. Every month, she'd been handing Adam $300 cash from her Social Security check. He called it grocery money. He collected it, her word, on the 3rd of every month, the morning after her check landed. 9 months. I did the math right there at that sink, and it came out uglier than anything I'd expected on a birthday weekend. I didn't raise my voice at that sink. I dried my hands, folded the statement into my jacket, and called Mr. Delgado from the driveway. He answered on the second ring, the way lawyers do when they already know a client's voice means trouble. I gave him the numbers, the dates, the card, the cash. He was quiet a moment, then said the sentence I needed to hear. "Bring your mother in this afternoon, Claire. We can fix most of this before dinner." My mother didn't want to go at first. She kept saying it would upset Adam, that he was trying, that Whitney had a hard childhood and just needed time. I sat beside her on the porch steps and asked her one question. "Mom, if I hadn't flown home early, how long would this have gone on?" She didn't answer, and that silence told me everything her loyalty wouldn't let her say out loud. She got her coat. At the bank, we opened a new account in both our names and redirected her Social Security starting next month. At Mr. Delgado's office, we signed a living trust putting the house in her name for the rest of her life. Untouchable by anyone, including me. He drafted a simple repayment plan too. $200 a month, no interest. Just accountability. By 4 o'clock, everything that mattered had my mother's real signature on it, not a forged one. I called Adam myself that evening instead of ambushing him at dinner. I told him what I knew, calmly, the way you deliver a diagnosis rather than a punishment. The card, the cash, the chore chart, all of it. He went quiet a long time. Then he said something I didn't expect. "I knew it was wrong the whole time, Claire. I just kept telling myself it was temporary, like everything else." Whitney got on the phone after him, and to her credit, she didn't argue. She apologized, awkwardly, the way people do when they're only sorry because they got caught. But underneath it, there was something that sounded almost real. They didn't leave that night, and I didn't ask them to. Instead, we sat at the kitchen table and worked out new terms together. Adam and Whitney would stay 2 more months while he started a new job. But the chore chart came off the fridge, the card was canceled, and my mother moved back into her own bedroom the next morning. Whitney cooked dinner that week without being asked. The first meal in 9 months, my mother didn't have to serve. 3 weeks later, I flew back to Alaska, but not before my mother walked me to the airport gate, standing taller than I'd seen her stand in a year. She's back in her garden now, tomatoes coming in early this year. And every Sunday call, she tells me the truth instead of what she thinks I want to hear. My father used to say, you take care of the people who raised you, not with money alone, but by showing up when it counts. It took one flight home and one honest phone call to finally understand exactly what he meant.